MLB on TuneIn Live on demand.
We are pleased to be joined by Jerry Krasnick from ESPN, who is a must-follow on Twitter, by the way, if you're not and you're a baseball fan, at J. Krasnick. Jerry, Holden, Kushner, LaTroy, Hawkins, thanks for the time. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Oh, we're doing terrific. We got a Cubs-White Sox matchup. We got, I'm talking to LaTroy. We got D. Gordon back tonight. We're discussing him. A lot going on in Major League Baseball, and I wanted to talk to you about the home runs and the rising rate, but there's so much going on in the trade department. Maybe we should start with that. I mean, I'm looking at, you're talking about Jonathan LaCroix here. Maybe the Astros aren't involved. What are you hearing? What are you hearing about Jonathan LaCroix right now, Jerry?
Well, the Brewers have ramped it up, and I think they're at the point where they're saying to teams, look, come at us with your best offer. And I think they have a pretty good sense that they're going to be able to get something done. It's just a question of which team sort of meets the level that they want to meet. And if they move them now, they would maybe get a little bit more because teams would get them for the stretch drive and have them for next season. So, I think Cleveland's a very motivated team. The Mets are in it. I think Texas has lingered on it. I'm not sure how active they are. They're really going for pitching. And as I mentioned today, I think Houston was probably overstated. I think they're going in a different direction. So, but, there's probably at least 3 teams, maybe 4 teams in on him, and I think they will move him before the deadline.
Hey, Jerry, LaTroy Hawkins here. Hey, what do you see? What's up with the Cubs and the Josh Reddick rumor? And if they do make the trade for Josh Reddick, how does that play for Hayward's playing time? Because he's actually struggling extremely bad this year so far.
Yeah, they got him for what, 8 years? So
8 years, 184.
Yeah, you got to figure something out, and I don't really know the extent of the interest. I think the Cubs are in so much go for it mode right now. I think they're willing to pull out all the stops, and look, that's a big price for a guy. Even though Reddick is a good player, if you're getting him for 2 months, you'd have to give up more prospects, and then you can't even get a draft pick back. So. I hate to say it, but it's kind of a sad commentary. It's because Jason Hayward is a drag on their lineup that they would have to do something like that. It's you got an awful lot of time and money invested in this guy. So I don't know if I'd call it a panic move, but that's a pretty drastic move. If you're not confident enough to have that guy play in the stretch drive and in the postseason, what the heck are you going to do with him for the next 7 years?
We're talking with Jerry Krasnick from ESPN. It's always interesting because we look at the box scores now, and I guess it started a couple of days ago. You look at the box scores and you start noticing guys are not in there.
Yeah.
I noticed LaCroix wasn't in there, and I looked at my Twitter feed. You're like, well, he doesn't hit well against left-handed pitching. I'm going, oh my goodness! It's like at this time of the year, there's so much speculation. You just don't know what's going down. But I thought that was interesting. You kind of helped me out with that today. You calmed me down because that's the first thing I look at. And the second thing, I want to get to some other teams and the team needs. All the news coming out about the Nationals now, and the Nationals are going to need a closer, whether or not they want to publicly state that or not. Papelbon, just the velocity's down. I'm not going to say he lost confidence. He's just not the same guy that we've seen in the past. My question for you, though, is how are they going to get somebody that's much better than Papelbon when they don't want to give up Giolito or Ross or any of their big-time young guys? How are they going to do that?
Well, nobody wants to give those guys up, but if you want, right now there's a couple choices. There's Andrew Miller and there's Wade Davis. And, I'm getting sort of hints that somebody I've talked to doesn't think Andrew Miller's going anywhere. He's got 2 years left. Conversely, I'm kind of getting a sense that the Royals really, might be willing to move Davis. He only has 1 year left, and it's a $10 million option, which is kind of expensive for a team like the Royals. But you're right. You're not going to get him for your number 6 and 8 and 14 prospects. You're going to have to give up. You're going to have to cut into the bone, a little bit. And it just depends on how much of a, feeling you have that this guy could be the difference between getting to the postseason and winning a World Series. And, if I'm the Nationals, look, they had that year where they shut Strasburg down. They've kind of flopped in the postseason a couple times. I think they got to go for it, and this is a year, them and Cleveland, I think, are two teams where you say, go out and do something dramatic, because you really need those pieces. And that big bullpen piece at the end, people kind of poo-poo it, but as LaTroy knows, especially in the postseason, you really want to have that hammer at the back end of the bullpen. You don't want to be holding your breath in the 6th or 7th game of a postseason series. So those guys are out there. You at least got to make the most earnest effort you can to get them.
Hey, Jerry, Jay Bruce, he's been the most talked about outfielder being traded since this past offseason. They had a deal, they thought, to Toronto. He didn't go. Now, where do you see him going, and what do you think that the Cincinnati Reds should get for him?
Well, you're right. He's raking right now, and he's also under contract next year for $13 million, which is pretty reasonable. I guess he's not as great defensively as he was. He's probably slid back a little bit, but he's not a huge liability out there, I don't think. I mean, I think he's okay, and the guy can really hit. He's a tremendous guy. I mean, he's awesome character, great addition to your clubhouse, and I think the Dodgers could be a possibility. I think the Giants could be, but they're all over the map. They need maybe a starter. Their starting is kind of thin after 3 guys. I think they'd like a bullpen piece. I think they'd like a right-handed bat, maybe a guy like Steve Pearce. The team I heard a couple days ago was Seattle that's inquired on him, and I initially thought that doesn't make any sense. And then I looked and saw their corner outfielders haven't done much. I mean, Nelson Cruz is out there some when he's not DHing, but they've had Nori Aoki and Seth Smith and Franklin Gutierrez, and Bruce is under contract next year for $13 million. So I'm kind of looking at Seattle maybe as a dark horse team here to kind of maybe swoop in and get him. But the Reds want a good prospect. I mean, they want a top, 2 or 3 prospect. They might not get your best guy, but they want your second or third best guy, maybe, plus. They're keeping the price pretty high. So it's the same with everything. That's why we haven't really seen a lot of deals done yet, is because teams are saying, we'll keep the price as high as we can for as long as we can. And then I think when we get down to Sunday and Monday, some of these teams will say, okay, best offer. And some of them will say, we'll just hold on to our guys for the offseason.
Do you see the Royals being a team that's going to get a best offer, or do you see a Royals team that is going to wait till the offseason? Because they've got to be looking at it right now saying the odds are very long to get to the postseason.
Yeah, they're kind of buried. I think I saw yesterday they were like 7th or 8th in the wild card. They were like 7 games out. And so at the very least, I think they're going to shop around their, free agents. Hochevar just went on the DL, so that was bad timing. Kendrys Morales, I think they would move, and that's the Edinson Volquez is the other guy, and he's the guy to me I see them moving. Maybe I'm kind of wacky here, but I'm thinking, wouldn't it be cool to see Volquez and Cueto reunited again in San Francisco? I think he'd be a nice fit in that rotation. He's pitched pretty well his last 3 or 4 times out, and you plug him into that rotation, and that could kind of stabilize that, 4 spot. Guys got postseason experience, and the question of what you got to give up for him. But Giants are pretty bold. I mean, it's an even year, and I think they'll go for it. So if not him, maybe somebody else. But he's a guy I could kind of see fitting there.
Wow. Jerry, what do you have on the Yankees? Are they going to be sellers? Are they going to be buyers? I read the article about Chris Sale maybe going to the Yankees, and where do you see Chris Sale going if he's going anywhere by August the 1st?
I don't know. I'm kind of cynical about trades of that magnitude. Chris Sale, he's got some time left on his contract. I'm not sure. You guys might know better than me. He's not like closing in on free agency. So with guys like that, like Tampa's pitchers, there's no real rush. And to me, going to the off season, it's a lousy free agent market. There's no starting pitchers out there. And in the winter, teams have time to plan. You can get all other 29 teams involved. So, I don't see what the rush is. It's not like, look, things have been strained there, but it appears they've made up and they can get past it. So, I don't even know if Jose Quintana will get traded. But I just think the price for sale has got to be just enormous.
King's ransom.
It's like half your farm system. So I think teams like the Red Sox and the Yankees, they're bolstering, and the Yankees are adding pieces maybe to make a run at a guy like Chris Sale. But I just don't see it coming together here in the next 3 days.
Jerry Krasnick's with us. Just two things. First of all, if you want to see Volquez and Cueto reunited, why don't we try and find Thomas Diamond and put him in there so we can reunite the DVD guys from the Rangers all those years ago. LaTroy, do you remember Diamond? Do you remember?
Yes, I remember Thomas Diamond.
I mean, these guys.
I remember. I remember him. I don't remember much about him, but I don't think.
Well, it was supposed to be those three guys. Those three guys were going to be the backbone of the Rangers rotation for years and years and years. And I guess Cueto's had the best career, and Volquez number two. And I don't know.
Cueto, the other one it was Volquez, Diamond, and who's the other one?
It was DVD. So it was. Oh, you're right. So it was Diamond Danks. That's who it was.
Danks.
You're right. It wasn't even him.
It wasn't Cueto. Yeah, it was
right.
Danks.
Right. Diamond Danks and Cueto. So maybe they get John Danks there
Diamond
too.
Danks
All right.
and Volquez. Yeah.
So I went completely on the wrong name. I guess Cueto does not start with a D. All right. Very good.
Yeah.
I'm learning a lot of things from you tonight, Jerry. Real quick before we let you go, I do want to talk about this article. It's about a week old now, but I thought it was fascinating. All we do here is try and figure out why there's so many home runs. Why are there so many home runs? Now we got data that the average fastball has moved up 2 miles per hour over the last 5 years. We got home runs flying out of the ballpark. You talked to a lot of players. What was the sense? What were some of the things that you got out of players as to why the home run rate is spiking now?
Well, there was a pitcher that who shall remain unnamed, but I talked to in Philadelphia who picked up a ball and said, there's no room, there's no give between the seams. It's like really tight. And this guy speculated maybe there's something going on with the ball. So when we went to the All-Star game, we asked people, and a couple of pitchers, Marco Estrada, Max Scherzer, Zach Britton, three or four of them kind of said, yeah, maybe it's a little livelier. We're not sure what's going on underneath with the cork. And then there were other people who said there's no difference. And Rob Manfred, the commissioner, was actually interesting because he said, well, in Japan, the commissioner 3 years ago lost his job because of a cork ball, a juice ball controversy, and I like my gig too much, so I'm not going to mess with the baseball. So yeah, you're playing with fire there, but it's just really hard to figure out why would home runs be at the same level they were in 2000 when steroids were at their peak. Why would that be? There's not really any new parks. The velocity's gone up, but I'm not sure that, I guess the old saying is the harder it goes in, the farther it goes out or whatever. But I don't know if scientifically that's true. And it's just weird. We got all kinds of theories. Stephen Vogt said that more guys are throwing cutters, and it's a high strike zone, so they're throwing cutters up in the zone. And some people think, they're stacking the top of the order now in the 2 spot with, Mike Trout types, and they're getting more at-bats. But does that really make you think that the home run rate's going to go up 25 or 30%? Hitters don't care about striking out, so everybody's up there trying to jack the ball out. Nobody has a 2-strike approach anymore. Maybe that's part of it. But does that stuff, LaTroy, I'm curious what you think. I mean, does that really make sense to you that those kinds of things would make that kind of spike? Don't you wonder at least about the baseball? Because it's the one thing that, you could affect without anybody really noticing.
Well, that's true, but I like to put it on the field with the players because guys aren't getting paid to hit 300, 6 home runs, and 40 RBIs. Guys are getting paid hitting 25-plus home runs, 20 to 25, 30 home runs, hitting 220 with 160, 170 strikeouts. And if you're having that type of power, you're right. That two-strike approach is none and void. It's not even in their vocabulary. So I think I like to say because guys are striking out more and guys they're trying to hit home runs, and guys are throwing a lot harder. And, you throwing 96 to 100 miles, 105 miles an hour, all you got to do a lot of times is get the barrel to it. And, the pitch actually generates the power. And, that could result in home runs. But, I don't know about the ball being this tight like that, real tight. That's weird. I would hope baseball isn't doing that, but you never know. You would never know. I wouldn't put it past them. Nobody wants to see a 1-1 ball game.
Except for me.
And look, I don't necessarily think there's some sort of conspiracy, and I don't even know if it's true. They make them in Costa Rica at the Rawlings factory. They say that they test them all the time. So I think baseball, look, I don't think they're going to intentionally mess around with it because, it could lead to issues.
Who would know? Who would know?
But it's hard to, like I said, it's just hard to fathom. And Josh Donaldson said, look, the velocity is up 2 or 3 miles an hour over a few years ago, and guys have gotten used to it more, so maybe that's part of it.
I think guys are seeing it more in the minor leagues, so when they get to the big leagues, it's not that big of a deal for them. When I came up in 95, Jerry, it was the average fastball, above average fastball was, 92 to 94, and that was bringing it. And you had some other guys that were harder than that, but 92, 94, that was bringing it. That's not enough now. If you got that, man,
it's funny when you look at a guy and they say, geez, his velocity's down to 92 or 93, and I'm like, geez, that still seems pretty fast. But, I guess compared to what some of these guys throw, it's not. But it's still, and look, I think velocity's overrated, a little bit, and that's a different question. But it's an interesting thing. I just wish that there were more guys who could put the ball in play because I think that makes for more interesting baseball. I don't like all the strikeouts. I just think and I don't like guys who try to drive it through a shift. I mean, I like guys who maybe will go the opposite way and try to fool the shift. And, those are subtleties, but it does seem like a lot of guys go up there thinking home run first and swing from the seat of your pants. And if you strike out, it's no big deal. And if you hit a home run, then you're going to cash in eventually.
It's interesting you say that, Jerry, about the strikeouts, because the more you talk to people over the years, it's that if you're in the playoffs and you got a closer, you don't want to take the risk of anybody putting the bat on the ball. You want the strikeouts. And then I talked to LaTroy. He said, hey, listen, LaTroy, even though he had the mid-90s stuff, he's saying, I didn't throw that. I didn't strike out that many guys. So that to me is a very interesting conversation now as we get close, as we get into the postseason. I think it's something I'll probably be asking a lot more guys about because there's two ways of looking at it. There's guys that don't get a lot of strikeouts, but they get the job done. I think Papelbon has been that guy later in his career, but he's struggling right now. And then the other camp says, give me a guy that throws 100 and can strike everybody out because I just don't want a hitter even putting the bat on the ball.
Yeah, I think with closers, look, I talked to Ron Darling, I think, about this. I did a story on it last year in the postseason, and, the consensus seemed to be that you just really don't want pitch-to-contact pitchers as much out of the bullpen, especially. We saw what happened with, that Lucas Duda play, or, a strikeout there is not going to be anything, but you hit a ball to third base, and a guy throws, throwing it around in a pressure situation, and it just more things can happen. So, and a lot of that's chance, but you can get 3 singles, through the hole if you put it in play. If 3 guys strike out, you're all walking back to the dugout. So, small sample size, but in the postseason, I like that guy who could strike a lot of people out for sure.
All right, thanks a lot for the time, Jerry. We really appreciate it. Take care of yourself.
Thanks, Jerry.
Thank you, guys.
That was fun stuff. Jerry Krasnick from ESPN joined us here on...
It's MLB on TuneIn Live, weekdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Tune in. Listen like you mean it.